People almost never say exactly what they mean, but that's okay, because their true intentions, they aren't really a mystery if you know where to look. See, understanding others isn't some kind of magic mind-reading trick. It's about calmly recognizing the patterns they show you, in their behavior, their tone, their words, over time. So, let's break down exactly how you can learn to see it.
So here's our roadmap. First, we're going to shift from just guessing to actually observing. Then, we'll get into the common tactics of manipulation and the personality types behind them. After that, we'll cover what words don't say, how to build up your defenses, and we'll wrap it all up with a practical drill you can start using today.
All right, let's start with the most important shift in perspective you can make. We are moving away from analyzing one-off isolated moments and instead learning to see the bigger, much more reliable story that patterns tell us over time.
I think we've all been there, right? You walk into a conversation feeling totally certain about something, but after talking to someone, you walk out doubting your own sanity. That feeling of disorientation, that's often a sign that someone is subtly twisting your perception, and that is exactly what we're going to learn how to decode.
So the key skill, the absolute foundation for all of this, is pattern recognition. This isn't about obsessing over a single word or a single weird look, no. It's about connecting the dots. It's about linking someone's tone of voice, their actions, and the context of the situation across multiple interactions. That's what gives you the real clear picture, instead of just a confusing little snapshot.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? A single cough can mean absolutely anything. But a cough plus a fever plus fatigue plus a certain medical history, okay, now that points to a pretty clear diagnosis. We need to become that doctor, a detective of human behavior, always looking for the cluster of clues.
Okay, so now that we know to look for patterns, let's start identifying the specific, predictable tactics that manipulators use again and again to get control.
At its very core, manipulation is a game of control. It works by zeroing in on your emotions, your guilt, your desire to be liked, your fear, and then twisting your perception of reality so that you end up doing what serves their agenda, not your own. Now let's break down these common plays. Playing victim, that's designed to tap into your sympathy and make you feel guilty. Creating dependency, that's an isolation tactic, making you feel like you just can't make it without them. Selective honesty is tricky. They give you just enough truth to earn your trust while hiding the part that actually matters. And of course, there's playing dumb to dodge responsibility and hiding intentions, which is just straight-up deception. Recognizing these moves is the first step to making them powerless. So, who are the kinds of people that use these tactics over and over again? Well, psychology actually gives us a useful framework for understanding the personalities that are, you could say, hardwired for exploitation. It's called the dark triad.
Now, the dark triad isn't a formal diagnosis you'd get from a doctor. Think of it more as a term for three specific personality traits that often show up together. You've got narcissism, which is all about ego, Machiavellianism, which is about strategic manipulation, and psychopathy, which is a profound lack of empathy and remorse.
This chart breaks it down perfectly. The narcissist is driven by a need for admiration. They have to be the star of the show. The Machiavellian, they're the chess player, always thinking a few moves ahead to get what they want. And the psychopath is really defined by that cold lack of empathy and impulsive, often hostile behavior. The key here is to understand what's motivating them.
And here's the thing. These traits rarely exist in a vacuum. They feed each other. A narcissist's desperate need for admiration might lead them to use Machiavellian tactics to get it, and their lack of empathy can start to look a lot like psychopathy. It's this overlap that makes the pattern of exploitation so consistent and so damaging.
Okay, so we've got the tactics and the personality types down. Now let's get into the signals you can spot in real time. Words can be chosen very carefully to deceive you, but the body and the tone of voice, they often leak the emotional truth.
This is such a great analogy. Someone can be telling you, everything's fine, I'm okay, but if that background music, their tense posture, their clipped tone of voice is all dark and ominous, you need to trust the music, not the words. It's the unfiltered emotional channel.
So the number one thing you're looking for is a mismatch between their words and their actions. When you hear, "I love your proposal," but you see them leaning back with their arms crossed, the body is telling you the real story. Your job is simply to notice that conflict. That's where the truth is.
And of course, language itself has its own deceptive patterns. People who are being dishonest often over-explain with way too much detail to sound convincing. They'll use passive language to avoid taking the blame.
They might repeat your question back to you just to buy a few seconds to think up a story. And a sudden shift in tone when you ask a direct question? Oh yeah, that's a huge red flag. You just hit a nerve.
So we can now spot the patterns and see the red flags. Great, but what do we actually do about it? Let's move from just observing to taking action. The most powerful tool you have is your own boundary defense system.
Now, this is absolutely crucial. You don't have to win an argument with a manipulator. In fact, arguing with them is usually what they want. It gives them the emotional reaction they're looking for. The real power is in setting calm, firm, and consistent boundaries without getting sucked into the drama.
Here's how you do it. Step 1. Respond neutrally. A simple, "I'll think about that," cuts off their emotional fuel supply. Step 2. Stop feeling like you have to justify your decisions. No is a complete sentence. Explaining just gives them ammunition to argue with. And finally, step 3, observe how they react. A healthy person respects a boundary. A manipulator will push, guilt, or punish you for it. Their reaction is pure, unfiltered data.
Look, like any skill, this stuff takes practice. So we're going to end with a super simple, actionable drill you can use this week to seriously sharpen your pattern recognition skills out in the real world.
Here's the plan. For the first 2 days, just listen to tone and watch posture. Ignore the words. Then, for the next 2 days, pick one person and just track their repeated behaviors or phrases. On days 5 and 6, you're going to test a small boundary, say no to something minor, and just see what happens. Finally, on day 7, take a few minutes to reflect on what you noticed and decide how that changes your approach going forward.
If you take away only one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this mantra. Observe patterns, protect your energy, and respond with clarity. It's the entire framework for everything we've just talked about.
Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about spotting manipulation in other people. It's about reclaiming your own clarity and your own energy. The patterns are always there, just waiting to be seen. So the only question left is, now that you see them, how will you choose to respond?